Hey guys, I've run into this issue a couple of times with Vercel VO, and so hopefully this helps some of you guys out there that are working and doing some coding work, and so you don't run into this issue. But basically, sometimes as you're going along the way and you're coding, and in between deployments, like something will happen where the preview window of like what you're working on, like everything looks great in the preview window as you're coding and making edits to your app or to your website. But then you hit the deploy button and go and view the deployment, and it looks completely different than what was working in the preview window. So maybe that's a UI perspective, like something looks different, or the design isn't loading correctly, or functionally something's broken that was working in the preview window. So this kind of mismatch between the preview window and the production environment is really scary if you don't really know how to fix it. And like it's happened to me multiple times on different platforms like Replit, Bolt, Lovable, and Vercel. And so this one is specifically for Vercel VO. Um, Okay, so this is an example project that I have. It's just called Grind Deck, or Hero Hours is what it's labeled as in Vercel. And so this is kind of, what this environment looks like in VO. And so sometimes like what I'm saying is that like this preview window, if you this has happened to you before, you know exactly what I'm talking about, and this video is for you. So like this preview window sometimes does not align with what's actually in the deployed environment. So like here I have a incognito tab, and sometimes this could look completely broken. Maybe there's no UI here, or it's not clickable, or I can't actually log in, or whatever the case might be. And so it's tough because, especially, this is also deployed to a public domain. And so, if you have traffic or users publicly, like that are trying to engage with that tool or that website, and you just deployed something that's all of a sudden not working, that's a really big problem, right? For people that are trying to use it. So, immediately, what you want to do is get the deployed version working back to normal, like revert the changes. And what's crazy is that what happens. The case that I'm talking about is when it's so extreme where like you have old deployed versions of the code that you go back to and you try to redeploy them. Like I go back to V5. Okay, V5 is looking good and working properly in the preview window, and then I know it was successfully deployed already, and then I redeploy V5, but that same issue that was happening on the V6 deployment is still happening on the V5 like on the deployment. So basically, like this kind of like normal way of reverting and adjusting is not working, even though you did everything right. You deployed when it was working before and everything. There's some kind of critical error on like a layer above that's breaking it, so that every single time your code gets deployed, something happens where it breaks. And so that makes it so that no matter what, like whenever you deploy code, it's always going to be broken unless you find like what the root cause of this problem is. So it can take varying amount of times to or amounts of time to find the root cause of that issue, which is, you'll do all sorts of things, talking to the VO agent, or talking to, or exploring the code base, or whatever you're doing to try to find the what the actual issue is, and then so you can once you pinpoint it, you can, solve that root cause error. But that can take some time. And again, this is in the use case where you have a public, there's already users on your site or your website, so you need to have something in production that's working. So that then you go into you get out of VO, go to back to Vercel, go to your project here, and go to deployments. And in deployments, you can kind of, this is where you have this whole feed. It's like a detailed feed of all your deployments, and you can see, when each one is deployed. And so what you want to do is basically each one of these is its own kind of totally separate living and breathing thing. So like this version of the app isn't deployed yet, but I can click on it and I'll be authenticated, and then I can actually use and engage with this old version of it. And so that's the first thing we'll do is just verify, like, okay, basically you want to go back into your log or into your deployment logs and find one that you think is probably working properly and that doesn't have that issue anymore. So I'm like, okay, this one I deployed 3 days ago. This is probably not work, or probably is working and doesn't have that new bug that got introduced to our environment. And so I'll then double check that, make sure that it's all working end to end, and then you can go over to these settings up here and you can promote this deployment. And so what that will do is it'll just like hard replace whatever that kind of current broken deployment is that, like, your users are trying to use your app and it's not working. this will this will replace that version in the public with this old version of your app that was working. So that's the first thing that you do is like you get it working for your current customers, your current users, and then after that go into the debugging process of okay, like go into your and talk with the VO agent and look at the code and build different test cases and things like that to try to find the root cause of the issue and then solve it and then build everything back up to the way that it was before. But yeah, this can be a really, really like literally horrifying problem. I mean, if you have your own customers on it, or even worse, like for Prism, for our company, we're building all this stuff for other businesses, and so those other businesses, their clients or their customers are trying to, interact with them, and they can't because the website's down. So. Anyways, it's scary when that happens. Like it was horrible when it happened to me for the first time. And I'm so glad, like it took me a while to figure out how to kind of resolve that. And this is going to look a little bit different from each platform, like if you're using Replit or Lovable or Bolt. But there's a similar kind of process for each of them. And so I just really appreciate how straightforward the process is on Vercel and how we were able to still, get everything done smoothly with our client. But now I want to show you really quickly this app. So if you're a longtime follower of the channel, then you'll probably like this. So you probably recognize that it's like DC and everything, DC themes. And the idea of this is that basically it's just to help you focus. And so every day you kind of come in here and you log how many hours that you worked each day. And then every 8 hours you get to unlock, get to roll for a card. And so basically there are all these cards in the deck. I don't have images built out for all of them yet. And you'll pull a random card from this every 8 hours that you work. And kind of it's like this gamified thing of working. You want to unlock all the cards and build up your army. Each of these has like a power rating associated with them. So Superman is at 970, way more than Flash, obviously, at 780. You can see like details on them, and your goal is basically to log as many hours as possible and collect all the cards and build up your power, your total power of your army of DC characters. So yeah, this is the tool, but I mean, again, just like a thing I wanted to show you as an example. You can check this out, make an account if you want, or whatever, and start grinding. It's grinddeck.com. So thanks for watching the video, y'all, and I'll see you in the next one.